The sikha we will be learning is Chelik Yutes. The heading of the sikha is Rosh Hashana. Now, this sikha is different, written differently than all the other, kemat all the other sikhas. Look at the sikhas. The way the sikhas, look at the sikhas were written, these were not fabrengas that the Rebbe said when the sikha came out. These are fabrengas from different years, and for every Shabbos or every Yontiv, they would come out with a likud of the sikhas, taking a sikha from years before, prepare it for the Rebbe to be Magia, and the Rebbe would be Magia it. And later, when a few years passed and every week came out the kuntras, the booklet, it would turn into a sefer. This sikha happens to be not a sikha taken from a year before. This sikha came out in the year Tov Mem Aleph, and this is the fabrengen of Rosh Hashana Tov Mem Aleph. Now we know how the fabrengas went. The fabrengas, there were different sikhas, and the Rebbe spoke different in yonim in each sikha. When they took the fabrengens, the sikhas from the fabrengens, and made it into a likud, we call it, into a sikha this week, took out one point of the sikha, one sikha, and gave that in, prepared it for the Magia. This is the whole fabrengen of Rosh Hashana Tov Mem Aleph. So it's not in the same style as the rest of the sikhas, where it's one union built up. Here are a lot of simple protim, and it came out as a likud, but not as a likud part of Likut sikhas. It came out as a likud for itself, but later when they put all the weekly likutim into the sefer, so that likud, which was not in that series, came out as the one for Rosh Hashanah. So as we will learn, we will see that this is just writing down what the Rebbe said, but the Rebbe being Madgia, adding Ha'oros, etc., etc. So as you notice in the Keppel, the heading of the Sikha, there's a star. It says Rosh Hashanah and there's a star. And the star says Ha'oros HaMeitzilei. This Ha'orah from the one that printed it, writes this Ha'orah, that since this in the original one, this was written in the Sikha. In the Sikha, they made it as a form of a Sikha. But in the original pamphlet that came out, there it started off, because it's describing the fabrengen, it started off with these words. The Suda, the Rebbe washed his holy hands for the Suda. And then it says, the Rebbe said to announce that anyone who didn't wash yet for the Suda should wash now. Then he announced that people should say L'chaim. And he announced that they should say L'chaim before the Shkia. Why before the Shkia? Because that time the Fabrengen was on Friday. Rosh Hashanah was Thursday and Friday. So Friday was the second day of Rosh Hashanah. Fabrengen, the Rebbe always Fabrengen the second day of Rosh Hashanah. But this time it was Friday, going into Shabbos. Now the din is that if you start eating, you wash before the Shkia. So when the Shkia comes, you can't continue eating. You got to make Kiddush. It's not like Shabbos afternoon that if you wash before the Shkia and you wash your hands and you continue, you could eat continuously till the end, till you finish, till you bench. If you don't wash, then the moment Shkia comes, you can't eat. But when it goes into Shabbos, you can't do that. So the Rebbe said that they should say L'chaim, but everyone should finish saying L'chaim before the Shkia. And then the Rebbe asked if there are any Nemushas, which anyone who left that didn't do it. And then the Rebbe continued with the Fabrengen. And that's where the Sikha starts. But the bottom is the Hagdama to the Sikha, because this is a description of the Fabrengen, which tells us what the Rebbe said. And the Kudus, basically what the Rebbe said, that was the Hanoch of that Fabrengen. The Rebbe was Magia, which most of the Fabrengens, he was not Magia. Elamai, unless one of the Sikhas from a Fabrengen that was not Mugia became part of a likud, the Rebbe was Magia, and that likud, and that went into one of the Svarim of Likud Sikhas. So the Rebbe started the Fabrengen like this. If Atem Netzavim Mayim Kulchem Lifnei Hashem Elokecha, on the pasuk where it says, you are standing today, all of you, in front of Hashem. Zog der Alter Rebbe. So the Alter Rebbe explains, as Hayem gate of Rosh Hashanah, when it says you are all standing today, Hayem goes on Rosh Hashanah. And he brings rayas that the word Hayem means Rosh Hashanah. Umiz Nitzavim, of what we're saying, on the day of Rosh Hashanah, you are all standing Lifnei Hashem Elokechem. You're all standing in front of Hashem, and you're all standing together. All of you are together. That means that all the Yidden, from the heads of the Shvatim, of the tribes, all the way down to the wood choppers and the water carriers, those that drew water, and all and all levels in between, they're all in the level of together. Yes, he's dort mefarish. Alter Rebbe explains it means lachodim ke'echad, or like one, all together. But he says, "Was das der Inyan von Nitzavim Hayem Kulchem, wie der Inyan von Nitzavim Hayem Kulchem tut sich auf mitzad lamayla." The way Pasuk says here, it's not something that you're doing. You're standing in front of Hashem. And before durch dem was means nitzovim lifnei Hashem lekeichem. If you're standing in front of Hashem, then because of in front of Hashem, that makes you all together. Wie der Taichus bringt sich in Chassidus if word nitzovim as there's the pshat in what Chassidus says on the word nitzovim. That word nitzovim is as das aloshen nifal. Nitzovim, you are standing, not you stood up. You're standing means something that's happening. So here also, as Eden werden nitzovim aufgestellt with the Eibishter. You're being stood up through Hashem. So when we're saying you're all standing together, it's something that the Eibishter is doing. Because this lifnei Hashem lekech front of Hashem, that's why you're all standing together. But that's what the Eibishter is doing. But we know the Gemara says, and Chassidus brings it in different words, and the same words of the Gemara. A person would rather have one kav, which is a little bit that he earned, that's his own, more than 9 kavim, 9 times as much that somebody else gave him. So here we're talking about something that somebody else gave, the Eibishter is giving us. But what a person needs and wants and likes is doing something, having something that he deserved, that he worked for. So what we said till now is that we're all together because of the Eibishter. The Eibishter makes it all together. But he also needs something that people will do, we will deserve. And he calls it kaf shalei, your kaf, the kaf that you earned. And the Rebbe adds, not only do we need it, but if you do have your own kaf, there is 10 kavim. And we say a person would rather have his own one rather than 9 of others. But the pshat the Rebbe learns, pshat, that when you do have the kav, the one kav that you got, automatically this will schlep all the other 9 kavim of Chavere, that you'll get it also through your one kav. Now, what does Chavere mean? So, Poshiv Shat Chavere means somebody else, your friend. But the Rebbe Taichus here, he's using this word L'gabed Eibishter. There is what the Eibishter does, and then you do your own kav. So, if you do this Aveda of being the Achdes, something that you do your Aveda, it also schleps that what the Eibishter gave you will be there, you'll get. Was Chavere geht auf den Eibishter. The word Chavere, it says you, the 9 kavim of Chavere goes on the Eibishter. Where do we see the Eibishter is called a friend of yours? The Rashi touched up in Masechta Shabbos, but Rashi in Shabbos says, considering there's a pasuk that says, if your friend and the friend of your father don't leave. So Rashi says, what does your friend mean? It goes on the Eibishter. So when it says here, there's kav your kav, there's tish kav Chavere, it goes to the Eibishter. And now the Rebbe says that you are receiving also the 9 kavim of the Eibishter. It says as dur chavidos saying kav shalei, but you're doing your share in your kav, in the part that's up to you to deserve. So now you get all 10 measurements of whatever inyan you're trying to get. Kav shalei and the tisha kavim Chavere, your kav and the tisha kavim, the 9 kavim of Chavere. So we're talking here about this, getting this idea of having achdus. So it's lifnei Hashem lekeichem. But if you do your kav, you do something for it, then it's much higher madrege, and then you're also mamsha the other 9, I guess, in the higher madrege. What is it that we're supposed to do in order to have our kav, our aveda in the inyan of achdus? As a pashtes is the ascholos aveda from ayidin in the roof. So the pashtes, what's the beginning of ayid when he wants to do an aveda in this inyan? So first thing, dos was Yisrael lekachinu lizmanim, the fact that the Yidden make holy the times. Which means like this, the Gemara says that Shabbos is nothing to do with the Yidden. They didn't make the Shabbos. We don't make Shabbos. Shabbos the Eibishter made. That's why we say, when it comes to Shabbos, Baruch Ato Hashem, the Kaddish Shabbos. Thank Hashem, He made the holy the Shabbos. Comes to Yontif, you say, Mekadesh Yisrael v'azmanim. You make the bracha that the Eibishter made holy the Yidden and the Zmanim, the times, which means the Yom Tovim. And the Gemara says, what does that mean? Why do we mention the Yidden here? We're making a bracha on the Yontif. Because who makes the Yontif? The Yidden. Because the Yom Tovim, the dates of the Yom Tovim depend on what the Bezdin down here amongst the Yidden will decide when is Rosh Chodesh. Because every month they had to decide when is Rosh Chodesh. Not like now where we have a calendar, but originally it was they had to decide based on the Eidos, etc., etc. So who decided when is Pesach? The Yidden decided. If this day is Rosh Chodesh, 15 days later from today is Rosh Chodesh. If the next day is Rosh Chodesh, 15 days from then is Pesach, and this is 15 days from then is Pesach. So the Yidden are the ones that make this manim. Because the first mokma beRosh Hashanah, so Rosh Hashanah, we don't use the words manim, but it says Mekadesh Yisrael v'Yom HaZikaron. Make the bracha, the Eibishter made holy the Yidden, and Yom HaZikaron, the day of remembrance, means the day of Rosh Hashanah. So in other words, the day of Rosh Hashanah comes because of the Yidden. So this is the first thing that Yidden do in this level of Rosh Hashanah. We said Rosh Hashanah, Yidden are all together. And the Eibishter makes it all ke'echad. But there's something that we do. So the first thing, first and foremost, not from, I don't know for both, but the first thing we do, we are make the Rosh Hashanah. The Yidden are the ones that establish when the Rosh Hashanah is. Neisav lazeh, besides that, the Ruf has Yidden kleiben sich zusammen kishefet beleivech. If on Rosh Hashanah, Yidden get together, which is talking about the Farbrengen. This was said by the Farbrengen, that when we get together on Rosh Hashanah, on this time, all together, like one person with one heart. Because of one goal and for one inyan. The fact that we get it together, we are adding through our Aveda in the inyan that we are all like one Nitzovim Kulchem. Because we are originally one, we are Be'etzem one because we are Lifnei Hashem Elokei. So the Eibishter makes us one. But if we get together and we are like one, we feel Ba'achdus, that's our Aveda that we put in the inyan that on Rosh Hashanah we have Achdus. So we have one thing that the Yidden are the ones that do the Aveda making Rosh Hashanah, because the Bezdin did it. And not only that, we all take get physically together, all together. Especially if we connect this gathering that we're all getting. This is all talking about the Farbrengen. We're all getting together concerning a physical thing. It's the physical food. Because when you had this Farbrengen, then everyone had challah to eat and everyone drank wine, say l'chaim. So, and it says by food, it becomes dama basik absurd, it becomes blood and flesh like your flesh. So we are doing something when we get together. The getting together is connected to push at the physical thing. Or befrat mitzogen as the gashmi v'zayin l'chaim, especially if you say l'chaim to life. And what we're saying it is on the wine. So we're saying on the physical gashmi that it should be to life. Because then when it's connected to physical thing, the Chazal tell us that when you give food or drink, that is makarev. When you give food or drink to somebody, that makes him close to you. So if we get together and we're doing it together with food and saying l'chaim, which is a special thing, and we do that, it adds to the aveda that we do from our part to the union of artists. Especially when this is connected to a yontiv, Rosh Hashanah. Was if im steht an yontiv, it says a posik in Nehemiah, Chetas Hashem imuschem. That your strength is the happiness of Hashem. It's a day that we have to be happy. As Demel Darv Zayin, it says there also that on that day, on Rosh Hashanah has to be Shesum Amtakim, drink sweet things. Besides eating tasty things. So it's a day that we have to get involved in making use of these good Gashmistic things. So we're connecting, are getting together with Gashmis, which is special connected to Rosh Hashanah. Especially that year, the Malaf was the Rosh, was that as a year Hakel. So Rosh Hashanah from a special year of Hakel. We're talking about the Maile of the Tzova Mayen Kulchem of Achdus. So this was a Rosh Hashanah Hakel, which is Achdus. Hakel doesn't start on Rosh Hashanah. Hakel starts from Sukkot. So the Rebbe says, for Rosh Hashanah from them year, the concept of being a year of Hakel starts from the Rosh Hashanah of this year. With the Posik Zok, like the Posik says, as Mekei Sheva Shonim at the end of the 7 years, Darv Zayin Hakel, has to be Hakel. So when does he say has to be? The end of the 7 years, the beginning of the 8th. Was Mekei Sheva Shonim, Heipzuchon for Rosh Hashanah. When does the year start from Rosh Hashanah? So the Posik connects right away, Hakel, even though physically Hakel was on Sukkot, but it's be'etzem connected to the beginning of the year, as the Posik says, the year after the Shemitah. When does the year after Shemitah start? In the beginning for Rosh Hashanah. Especially according to Chassidus explains there's a posik that says Bakesa liyem chagenu. Kesa means hidden. Liyem chagenu means the day of our yontif. When is liyem chagenu? When is the day of chagenu? Sukkot is called chag. Adinyonim for chagenu chag Sukkot. Chassidus says that the inyonim of chagenu, which is Sukkot, they're dead in Rosh, but the Rosh Hashanah is still hidden. Sukkot, it comes out revealed. So this all points to that Rosh Hashanah is the beginning of Sukkot. And Sukkot is that year was Hakel. So already we have our Rosh Hashanah of Hakel. The Ashleimer as Eir the Inyan Hakel was his Bechagenu Zeito Rosh Hashanah. So when we learn Chassidus that what the Inyanim of Sukkot, all the Ruchnis, the Hamshochas and things that happen on Sukkot already are there on Rosh Hashanah, but the Rosh Hashanah it's not revealed, and Sukkot is revealed. So the Rebbe says this could apply to Hakel also. If it's a year of Hakel in Sukkot, so the Hakel that's supposed to be in Sukkot in a simple, push it out real way, is already hidden in Rosh Hashanah. So Rosh Hashanah, we already have it. So therefore, the Rebbe says, the Yadarein is Zogn L'chaim ala Yayin, and everyone should say L'chaim al wine. Darp design far the Shkia. Since you can say L'chaim wine, has to be before the Shkia. And it says in the order on the bottom that because the Farbrengen was Erev Shabbos before the Shkia, so you have to say L'chaim for the Shkia. And he says, Zogn L'chaim of Mashke. You could say L'chaim of Mashke. Noch better if you do it on Yain on wine. But Mesameach Elakim Anoshim, the Pasuk says, a wine makes the Eibishter and people happy. But the Fari that's verbunden mit Simcha Gdeile, so therefore it's verbunden with the great Simcha Rosh, it's a great Simcha. As we said before, we said Chedev Hashem Uschem at Simcha. And Yain is always connected to Simcha. And the wine that we say L'chaim and Rosh Hashanah becomes part of you. The Frata that's verbunden mit Rosh Hashanah or mit Hakel, but tut is Nabayis Gottel. But especially that it's connected, as we said, to Rosh Hashanah, it's a Rosh Hashanah, and it's a year of Hakel. And then there's another thing here. We're doing this word in 770. The Rebbe doesn't say the word 770, but it refers to 770. But the Gemara says that there's a Bayis Godel, and it says Bayis Godel, a big house. Chal goes on the Beis Hamikdash, I think similar. It's called Bayis Godel. Godel means big, but what is this big? Doesn't mean a physical big building. It means Mokim Shemagadon B'Teire, a place where you raise. Megadon is raised, you do Teire. Which means a place where they have shurim and Teire. Umokim Shemagadon B'Tfila, a place where you raise tefillah, where you daven. So the Rebbe is saying, especially I'm saying to say L'chaim in 770. And 770 is a mokim that they learn Teire, a mokim where you do tefillah. So it's a Bayis Godel. So in addition to all the great things that happens, that we said before, and makes the Avdus, certainly if it's done in this place, which is a Bayis Godel in Teire and tefillah. The Yerotzen is also Chuften alle in Yonim was darfen sich durch die Pulas Huften and Yerotzen the will of the Ebesh should be the all the Yonim you have to accomplish should be accomplished. And then in the bottom of the order it says, since it's the description of the Fabring, and then the Rebbe said to sing the Nigen with the 3 stanzas, 3 parts. And the Rebbe mentioned that the Baal Shem Tov is a part of it, and the Magid is part of it in the Alter Rebbe. Then he said to sing a Nigen with the Alter Rebbe. So when they started singing Avinu Malkeinu, people felt that that's the best Nigen fit. Nigen of the Alter Rebbe. Avinu Malkeinu is connected to Rosh Hashanah. So therefore we should sing. So they sang Avinu Malkeinu. The Rebbe said, since it's Shabbos, Keilu Mincha Shel Vanel, Shabbos, which includes, it was going into Shabbos. This is Friday. So we're already Shabbos afternoon. So Shabbos, including Mincha before Shabbos, we don't say Avinu Malkeinu on Shabbos. The Mele say they should not sing that Nigen, and they sang the Nigen Likra Shabbos, another Nigen Alter Rebbe. Then they sang the Nigen of Mittel Rebbe, Nigen Tzemach Tzedek, Marash, Nigen the Rebbe Rashab, and the Rebbe had to sing the Rebbe, the Friedrich Rebbe's Nigen, which is the Beinini, and then they sang Gater V'Chartonu, which seems like Gater V'Chartonu was for the Rebbe. Then we go back to the Sicha, and the Sicha, the Rebbe is the next Sicha, but it's all written here together because it's a Hanoche from that Verbringen. The Ringe von Zayim Chilas Masecho, the Chiluk zwischen Zeh mit Kevas, it's the Gerete Maimer. In the Maimer, the Rebbe said, he spoke about we say, davening Zeh Hayem Chilas Masecha. This is the day, the beginning of your actions, the beginning of the creation. And it says the word Zeh. So in the Maimer, the Rebbe explained that sometimes it says Zeh, sometimes it says Kei. Zeh is this, Kei is like this. So concerning this Inyan, the Rebbe Retze Bekam came in the Durushim Tzemach Tzedek. The Inyan I explained in the Maimer. It's written in many places in the Maimonim of the Tzemach Tzedek. But besides that, Yagos so beautiful Mechatzo Igel Nukut Teira was reden wegen dem Inyan, seine Knere von dem Tzemach Tzedek. In Nukut Teira, there are certain things added in parentheses, and it talks about this Inyan. It seems like that's also from the Tzemach Tzedek, because a lot of these Hagos, these things in parentheses in Nukut Teira, which is Maimonim of the Alter Rebbe, but these parentheses are from the Tzemach Tzedek. And the Rebbe is trying to connect this whole thing to the Tzemach Tzedek, because as we'll see, that is connected to his birthday. So this also connects to the Tzemach Tzedek. But the Rinyan for Rosh and Zayim Tchilas Masecha, what Ashayches Miyuchedes with the Tzemach Tzedek. The Rinyan of Rosh and Rosh is where it says Zeh Hayim. So we're saying it's written, talked about in the Maimorim of the Tzemach Tzedek, that goes to the Tzemach Tzedek. It has a special connection to the Tzemach Tzedek. For Zayim Beledis is better of Rosh because he was born on Erev Rosh. And his bris is given it as Sorry Yom HaShabbos Yom Kippur, and his bris was Seres HaMetshuvah in the days between Rosh and Yom Kippur. So we see that Rosh Hashanah is special Shaychas at Tzemach Tzedek. So the union of Zeh Hayim, which is the Zeh, and this posuk is connected to Tzemach Tzedek. When we get in the Friedrich Aswado says, like I said in the previous Fabringen, which is the Fabringen of Erev Rosh Hashanah, Abishad that Tzemach Tzedek is geboren, when the Tzemach was born, hat ein Zayde der Alter Rebbe gesagt Teire, was mashbi neset Tzadik, that when Tzemach Tzedek was born on Erev Rosh Hashanah, so his grandfather, the Alter Rebbe, said a Maimer, on this Maimer Chazal, Mashbin Neset Tzaddik, before the Neshama comes down to this world, they make it swear it'll be a Tzaddik. But those that noch geworden, the erste drei Prokim of Tanya became afterwards the first three Prokim of Tanya. Now, it's talking about Mashbin Neset. What is connected to when the person is born? Was Mashbin Neset, the Tzaddik is verbunden mit Elotes. The fact that you make a person swear is connected to the birth. And in this case, it was the birth of the Tzemach Tzedek, because he said it on the day that Tzemach Tzedek was born. For Mashbin Neset Tzaddik is by each kind, Eider wird geboren wie Yetzer Rabbi Relam. They're connecting it not only to Rosh Hashanah, to the birth of Tzemach Tzedek, Erev Rosh Hashanah, Erev Rosh Hashanah, the day before Rosh Hashanah. And the Alter Rebbe said the Maimer that make him swear. When do they make the Shomer swear that it will be a Tzaddik and not a Rosh? Not when it's born, before it's born, before it goes out into the air of the world. So that's the connection to that Tzemach Tzedek, which was born before Rosh Hashanah. Then the Rebbe continued, "Dos, let us Tzemach Tzedek." And as their demel is Mashbin, he said, "This is I said that the birth of the Tzemach Tzedek was on Erev Rosh Hashanah, and that's when you make the shvuah before you're born. Is echt verbunden mit Yuchat mit Rosh Hashanah. It's connected to Rosh Hashanah specifically. Till now we're saying it's connected to birth of a person, and the Tzemach Tzedek was born then, so it's connected to him. Now he said it's also connected to Rosh Hashanah. The Rosh Hashanah is given B'riyas Adam Rishon. Rosh Hashanah Adam Rishon was created. But it's similar to the Neshama coming down. We allowed this for the other mention, and this is connected to the birth. The creation of Adam is like the birth of a human being, but especially for all the Yidden, which they are specially connected to Adam Rishon. For Adam Atem Krib Adam, the Gemara says the word Adam refers to Yidden. So the connection to Adam Rishon, the creation of Adam Rishon, which is the birth of a person, is more by Yidden. When the Mishnah zogt, as jeder Mensch is anei lamola, the Mishnah says that every person is a full world. Azevi Adam Rishon was niver yichidi, and it's similar to Adam Rishon that was created as one. There was only one person in the world. The whole world, he was the whole world. Every Yid is like that. Every Yid is Elamol is a whole world. But Nochmal even more. Kademus Lavis needs as jeder is a Elamole. This is what the Mishnah says. In order to see, to feel, to know that now every Yid is a full world. So the way the Mishnah puts it is, why was Taka Adam Rishon born? It's an interesting thing. Why was Adam Rishon born? Created alone to teach us that every human being, one human being, is the whole world. So the connection is even stronger. Not only the same way it's by Adam Rishon, the same way is by every person. They're connected because the whole reason why it happened to Adam Rishon, that he was created one, is kedei to teach us that every Yid is one. And so when a Yid is born, he's the whole world. But this is noch mal matgish dem keshet zwischen Bris Adam Rishon Rosh Hashanah mit der Elotes für Yadrin, which stresses more the connection between the creation of Adam Rishon and Rosh Hashanah and the birth of every person, because the creation of every person is similar to the birth of every person, similar to the creation of Adam Rishon. So we see the connection. Since every year, when it comes to Rosh Hashanah, the things that happened the first time re-happened again. As Chazan and Schibet in Yonim was getroffen by Rosh Hashanah, what happened the first time at Rosh Hashanah is repeated, including this that Adam Rishon was created on Rosh Hashanah. Is verstandig a Rosh Hashanah. So obviously what comes out now is something else, that every Rosh Hashanah is the birth of every Yid. Since it's the birth of Adam Rishon, the creation of Adam Rishon, birth of every Yid is like Adam Rishon. So that's, and every year the creation of Adam is repeated. So b'meila, and every person is, his birthday is on Rosh Hashanah. So every Yid, it comes out, every Yid's birthday is on, and since he's connected to Adam Rishon, every year the birth of Yid is Rosh Hashanah. As we could say, it doesn't. Zogen Teir of Mashbin Neisi, be'erev Rosh Hashanah is Meramezech. That this fact that the Alter Rebbe, that saying a Maimer, an erev Rosh Hashanah, and you didn't even mention the Alter Rebbe here. The Rebbe himself said a Maimer that Farbringen, like before. This is Rosh Hashanah Farbringen, but the Farbringen before he said a Maimer also. So the union of saying it erev Rosh Hashanah has also a hint. The Bala Rosh Hashanah means the lot of not yet reading. But Dugma Bebris Adam Rishon, since the birth of every Yid is on the Rosh Hashanah, similar to the creation of Adam Rishon, so this union that we make the Neshama swear before it comes down has to be done before it's born. So that's why it's connected to Erev Rosh Hashanah. And the Rebbe says, "Afa people is a Palmer Shena b'Shas B'riyas Adam Rishon." You them talk from Rosh Hashanah Gufe. Even Kamen b'Shas being far B'riyas Adam Rishon. Chud, it's not the same. When we say a person is born on Rosh Hashanah, every person's Meledis is Rosh Hashanah. It starts from the night. Rosh Hashanah starts from the night, and we compare it to Adam Rishon. But by Adam Rishon, he wasn't created right in the beginning of the day. He was created many hours in the middle of the day. So there were hours before it was created. Wie die Gemara sagt, Gemara is eine Rechnung is beprotius, like the Gemara mentions in detail, Yasei Brias Adam hat sich ausgestellt in the Shas Hayim. How the creation of Adam Rishon was during which hours of the day. So the fact that we're saying we need to have this Shvuah Erev Rosh Hashanah because it has to be before the birth, like Adam Rishon's creation. But even though Adam Rishon's creation, there were certain hours of the day. True. But nevertheless, by us, Rosh Hashanah starts from the beginning. So when we speak about before Rosh Hashanah, it has to be Erev Rosh Hashanah. Then the Rebbe continues. This year, the way it's set up that year, the days of the week that Rosh Hashanah is, shows even a greater connection to the creation of Adam Rishon. How? Adam Rishon, which is Rosh Hashanah, is going to be Shavua. Creation of Adam Rishon, which is Rosh Hashanah, was on Friday. It was the 6th day of creation, so it was Friday. So there's a rule that Rosh Hashanah cannot start not on a Sunday, that's Aleph, not on a Dalet, which is Wednesday, 4, and not on a Vav on Friday. So you can't have Rosh Hashanah anytime to be the same day of the week as the creation of Adam Rishon. So it can be similar. The Rambam brings the Sarobis, the Rambam brings it bis as Ladas Harapsadigon, it does with the Rapsadigon says that this klal is a deraisa that Rosh Hashanah cannot be Sunday, Wednesday, or Friday. So it can be Friday like it was the first time. The only possibility for Friday to be Rosh Hashanah, so it's like the kviyas of that year. That day Rosh Hashanah was on Friday, not the first day. First day can't be, but the second day. So it's still Rosh Hashanah. So the second day was Friday, similar to the original Rosh Hashanah. Even though it's the second day, and Adam Rishon was created was like the first day. So I don't know, but the tech for Rosh Hashanah, ain't like it. We know they have a certain halachas. Both days of Rosh Hashanah are considered one long day. So comes out as the Kviya Shonazu that the way this year is Rosh Hashanah in them talk from Brias Adam Rishon. As David is given Pam Rishon B'Yem. So Rosh Hashanah, and since the second day is connected like one with the first day, so this year, that year, Rosh Hashanah being Thursday and Friday, so it's the closest that you could get to being close to the creation of Adam Rishon on the Friday. And this inyan that it's Friday is at the end of the day, because we're saying the first and second day are one day, but the Friday is more than 24 hours from the beginning. So it's getting closer to the end of Rosh. If Rosh Hashanah is 48 hours, and Rosh Hashanah is the creation of Adam Rishon, but it really is the creation on and to the day of the week, which is Friday, so it's the second part of Rosh Hashanah. But that's the being based Rosh Hashanah the second way. So this is Bedukman, this is given by Pam Rishon, as Bris Adam Rishon is given by Sefer Yom Rosh Hashanah. So it fits more because just like we said before, the Adam Rishon was created on the Rosh Hashanah, but many hours in the day, towards the end of Rosh Hashanah, and we said it's not the same. Now we're saying the Rashbi and they say it's the day before, but the birth of Rosh Hashanah, the creation of Adam Rishon was on the day, but that was later in the day. And if you look at Rosh Hashanah, both days as one, the second day is later in that one big day of 48 hours. So it fits more to that Adam Rishon was created at the end of the day. Then the Rebbe says, now that we're talking about the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, this is the place where I want to make a comment. To negate to them, it's Rosh Hashanah Sveitek. To the fact that Rosh Hashanah is 2 days. But also, it's not only outside of Eretz Yisrael, it's also in Eretz Yisrael. While other Yom Tovim, it's only Chutz Loretz. In Eretz Yisrael, it's 1 day. Rosh Hashanah, we're both the same. But in the roof is mutgish the linya from Atem Mitzvah Mayim Kulchem. The Meilet stresses more the fact that we are standing all together, Kulchem together. There's Agdus. Rosh Hashanah, there's more Agdus between all the Yidden in the world. Every yontif there's a difference between Yidden and Eretz Yisrael. From outside of Eretz Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael. In Chutz La'aretz private ma yontif shein shugol. Yes, Chutz La'aretz we have a second day of yontif. Shenkin in Eretz Yisrael, but not in Eretz Yisrael. Shenkin Rosh Hashanah praven all Yidden sveitek. In Rosh Hashanah, every Yid keeps 2 days. Sai Eretz Yisrael, Sai those who live in Eretz Yisrael. In the land, Eretz Hashayin Hashem Elokecha B'Amreish Hashana V'Dach. The specialty of Eretz Yisrael, that's a land where the Eibish's eyes are there a whole year from beginning to end. And also those are in Chutz La'aretz. Was dort gefunden sich Leib Minyan und Leib Binyan von Yidden. Outside of Eretz Yisrael, that's where most quality and quantity of Yidden are. These Mashiachs that Kenim is bringing in Eretz Yisrael, so the Mashiach will bring in Eretz Yisrael. So on Rosh Hashanah, Yidden who are outside and inside Eretz Yisrael are the same. So that's the Rebbe says, just by the way, that it's something special. But then he's going to explain, but negate the meaning of having 2 days Rosh Hashanah. Was yeshna velchazuchen of the roof as Rosh Hashanah Eretz Yisrael tzveitek amokim v'setzchonkim. There are people who look, where's the source? We know the reason for it. The reason says in Shulchan Aruch why we have 2 days of Rosh Hashanah even in Eretz Yisrael. But where is the beginning? Where do we see a source in the earlier Svarim, meaning before Shulchan Aruch Havad, before the Gemara? Because in Gemara it says, but before that, is there any source in Tanakh in the Rosh Hashanah being 2 days? We find the Beferish and Posik and Teresh B'Ksav. We find the Beferish and Posik in the written Torah. Now it doesn't mean Chumash, but Tanakh, Nevi'im is also called the written Torah. Nehemiah, there's a Tanakh called Nehemiah because it talks about the Novi Nehemiah. Was der Alter Rebbe ruft him on a piece and had him Shulchan Aruch Shleim Hilchos Rosh mit Nomen Ezra. The Alter Rebbe in Shulchan Aruch Hilchos Rosh calls it Ezra because in the Gemara it says that it's all one. So anyway, the Alter Rebbe calls it Ezra, but it's a Posik in Nehemiah, Kapitel Ches, the 8th chapter. In connection to it tells us what happened on the first day of the 7th month, which is in the talk for Rosh and what took place at that time, day of Rosh Hashanah. That they told Yidden, it's the same pasuk he quoted before. Eat tasty foods, shesumam takim, and drink tasty drinks. Shulchamanis leinoch, and they send presents to those who don't have ready food. That today, the day is a day that's holy to our master. Don't be sad, because your strength is the happiness of Hashem. That's what it said. And in connection to that, when they're noch after that, it says, as Yidden did that. First, he told him to do it, to eat good food, and never said to him, be happy. And it says then that Yidden did that. All the people went to eat and drink, to send presents, to make a second simcha. So after it says that they kept what they were told, then it says Vayem Hasheni, and the second day. So it's talking about the second day. Now, what does the second day mean? Taishim Aforshim, some Aforshim say, it's Rashi, it's David, Abayem Hasheni meant need their Togvas Kumt noch Rosh Hashanah. You could tell Vayem Hasheni is the next day. Rosh Hashanah was one day, and the next day, this is what happened. So Rashi is not Vayem Hasheni shel Rosh Hashanah, the second day of Rosh Hashanah. So we see that already then, by Nehemiah's time, they kept 2 days Rosh Hashanah. And they explain the reason why they kept 2 days Rosh Hashanah. As a Zion Demo given Zweitag Rosh Hashanah, there were 2 days Rosh Hashanah, because in the time of Ezra, Chedesh Elul had 30 days. So just like we have now, similar, it's not exactly, I'm just giving an example. When do we have 2 days of Chedesh? When do we have one? If the month is 29 days, the next day is Aleph of the next month, so it's 1 day Rosh Chodesh. If the month has 30 days, so the 30th day is also Rosh Chodesh, and the next day is the first day of the next month, is also Rosh Chodesh. Same thing, if Elul would have 30 days, Elul will always have 29 days. If Elul would have 30 days, it would be 2 days Rosh Hashanah. So that year, they made Elul have 29 days. So here we see already a beginning of where we find that there were 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. Then the Rebbe continues. Since he's talking about that parsha in Nehemiah, this that we mentioned before from Nehemiah, as being al the Rosh on the first day of Rosh Hashanah, they went to eat and drink, and they made a great simcha. Do we connect that? Was Kveit Kedushas Meiri v'Chomi Admor schreibt, but the Friedrich Rebbe, my father-in-law, writes in Sefer HaMamorim Tovshim Gimel B'Tchila, saying that Sefer, and he said, it speaks there about Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is the day we crown Hashem as king. So he says, we see the Malchus Da'ara in the kingship down here in this world. The crowning comes with great joy, a great celebration. So the Friedrich Rebbe brings it in the Gei Rosh Hashanah that because it's the crowning of Hashem, it should be B'Simcha G'deila. So the Rebbe points out that look what it says in Nehemiah, and it says that they made Simcha G'deila, and the Friedrich Rebbe writes that the crowning of a king down here is also Simcha G'deila. So we see the connection between what it says in Nehemiah to Rosh Hashanah. By Rosh Hashanah, the Friedrich Rebbe says is Simcha G'deila, and in Nehemiah, which Rebbe said tells us what Rosh Hashanah is, and the second day also is Simcha G'deila. And since the Malchus down here is similar to the Malchus up there, so since by a Melech down here, we see that when you crown him, when you inaugurate the king, it goes with a great joy, great simcha. So when you make the crowning of the king up there, is also b'shas means machta the meibish v'rosh b'simcha. So when you crown Hashem as king b'simcha. So he shows another connection to show also that what it says in the Nehemiah is connected to what the union of Rosh Hashanah is. A by the way, thing I want to say, if the roof was mezokt as v'bal machusa dareke machusa derekia, concerning what we just said, that because the Gemara says that the malchus down here is like the malchus up there, is azevi malchus der are is achtoras amel b'simcha deila azei malchus derekia, and therefore we said just like since we see that the crowning of a king down here is b'simcha deila, so the crowning of Hashem should also be b'simcha deila. In Dordad Shaila, we have a question on this. It seems that we're saying. It seems that because the Malchus down here behaves in a certain way, so the Malchus up there behaves the same way. Just like the Malchus down here, when you crown the king, it's B'simcha G'deila. The crowning of the king of Hashem up there is also Simcha G'deila. But you have a question. Why does it have to be that way? I said, up there, they have to do things the way they are down here. Who says they have to do that? So how do we say that because down here when you crown the king, it's a great simcha. So when you're crowning Hashem, it's also the same. Why? Hashem has to copy things that got down here. The Mila, we have to do the same things that are down here. Why do we say that? So it's basically a shailon the Gemara. Why would we say that whatever's down here they have to do up there? Same question is by every time the Gemara, the Medrash, Chazal bring a moshel for certain something, and as the Loshna and the Midrashim go moshel ma dover deimel mele basav adam. The moshel, this is similar to what happens to a human king. So you can ask the same question. Wie kann man sagen, als an ihnen in einer gewissen Nähe von der Meile by the Meibischen der Fall was is how could you say that by the Eibishter Meile certain things are happening a certain way? Because down here it happens the way he's supposed to do what happens down here. Why would he have to copy what does? So who says it so? The Shail is able to get to them. Moshel was the Maggid brings the Shail about every Moshel, and he says even a specific Moshel. They're the same Shail. The Maggid brings a Moshel that the Yid says that the Yid, the Neshamas of the Yidden, before the creation of the world, were already carved out in the brain of the Eibishter. He wants to show that the Yidden come before the world. Before the Eden were there, yet down here in the Shayrish, they were there. See, down here, a person can't imagine, let's say a father could imagines in his brain his son. When the son is not around, he thinks about him. He has him in his brain. But it's only after the son was born. The son was born, he knows what he looks like, so he imagines it. But David wants to say, even before the Eden were born. But he gives a moshel, just by a father down here, in his mind is carved out the shape of his son. The neshamas of Eden are carved out in the machshava. But there's a difference, like I said, as in the moshel of the moshel of the father, physical human being. If you never had a child yet, you can't say in his mind before he had the child is already carved out the shape of the child. Before the Yidden were created, they were already carved in his machshava. The past and the future are the same. So even though it's something that's going to be in the future, he could have it. But Lepel Mamish, there is a moshel. When he wants to show that the Eibishter's machshava, the Yidden are in the Eibishter's machshava, he gives a moshel of a son. They have the same question. What do you mean? Why? What's the moshel tell us? By down here, it's that way. A father has in his mind the surah of his son. Does that mean that the mile has to be the same? What does that mean that we always have a moshel? So in Kloli, the Rebbe is asking. But Pirish, the Rebbe says he has a simple answer, but you have to know the answer. It's not like we thought before when we're saying the moshel, we say the moshel down here. So because it's down here a certain way, that's why we're saying Lamaila is also. In other words, down here is the cause. Because down here happens Lamaila. Nafraket is the opposite. Der Fun was meset für die Linien is Lamata, weiß man, das ist Araye, für die Linien is Lamaila. But we see Lamata that proves that that's a Lamaila, which means not because it's Lamata, that's why it's Lamaila. It's just when we see it lamata that tells us that that's how lamaila. Nochme goes further. The farvas the inyan is as a lamaila is nishtalshim, and it works the opposite. But not only what we just said that we see lamaila, we see lamata, we know from that's lamaila. The reason is because everything that's lamaila, whatever is lamaila, is nishtal shlomhem comes down here. When the svet as a lamata, it happens down here the same. That's the pshat. Whatever is lamaila, Tanya says it. Losh nishtal shlomhem is from Tanya Peri Gimel. B'meilad mevil visen viderinyan is lamaila. So if you want to know what's the inyan lamaila, darf man sich zugucken viderinyan is lamata. Look the way it's down here. The food not na yediyah, wie das ist lamaila, we understand what's lamaila. So, whatever we see by a person, I see a person has a heart. It must be a heart, also lamaila, a certain level of spiritual heart. How do you know? Because everything lamata came from lamaila. For lamata, you see, there's a heart, so you know lamaila. So whatever there is, so everything starts off lamaila. Now, say the gates to the alam shalom, same thing with all the parables. But Rosh like the posuk says, posuk says, from my flesh I will see godliness. What does that mean? That if the way I see things by me, this shows me the way it's lamaila. But when we will as ein inyonim sollen sein, nicht nur der Eibishter wants that the inyonim should not nicht nur sein in the eifu von Amunah. You could believe there are things lamaila. But the pasuk says no. From your own self, you will see what is lamaila. The reichas in the eifu von erze v'yediyah. The Eibishter wants you should see it. You could believe that someone tells you in a sefer, a tzaddik tells you, it says in Chassidus, it says in Torah, it says that lamaila is so and so. You believe it. But want to see it more. It should be more upgraded in your idea. With the Dirk Aloshim from the Rambam says, Leida nit lahamin. The Rambam says that you say this Amud HaChochmah, the source of everything, to know the Eibishter. Not just to believe. To know means it should be clear in your mind. So that's why he gave the Misholim. But those say if they're biur, was der Tzemach Tzedek brings the Sefer HaMitzvah. This explains what the Tzemach Tzedek brings in Derech Matzesecha, the Sefer HaMitzvah. He says like this: how could there be? The Rambam says the first mitzvah is to believe in Hashem. How could there be a tzivah, an obligation, a mitzvah to believe in Hashem? Shasamuna is the yesod and the akdama of all mitzvahs tzivuyim. If this is the foundation of all the mitzvahs, how could this itself be a mitzvah? A mitzvah means we're commanded, and there's a commandment to believe. Who commanded you? So you have to believe in Hashem before any mitzvah. You have to believe there's a commander. So how could you say Amunah is one of the mitzvahs? Isn't it the Yesod and the Akdomet from all the mitzvahs? It's before the mitzvahs. Because he's the commander. You say, I have a lot of commandments. But first you got to know there's a commander. How could you say that one of the mitzvahs is to believe there's an Eibishter? Who commanded you to do the mitzvahs? The Eibishter. So you know about the Eibishter before. So what does that mean? That's a mitzvah. Is it what Mavayir explains as neisav of them as the tzivu is the brony protem. Besides that, it's not the general idea to believe in the Eibishter, but the mitzvah is in the details what he is all about. Is eid v'ikar. Besides that, the tzivu is mitna lahamin or eich leida sheisham atzaritzin. Believe you could have to believe. You could believe before. The mitzvah is to know, and that's a mitzvah. Who's the commander? We believe there is Eibishter. He commanded us now to know that he is the Eibishter. So the Eibishter wants us to know. But the father from the Misholim from the Mato, that's why we have to have a moshel from down here. The father from the Mato on the Elam Hazard, in Elam Hazard, it's a mistake here. You have to have a moshel from something down here in this world, but they to verstehen be idea. So then we could understand with the knowledge, we are downstairs we understand it. If we see downstairs down here a certain way, the it makes us clearer, brings it clearer to our mind the way it's up there. That's the idea of the Misholim. The answer is Akasha. So it's not that because it's Lamata, it happens Lamaila. Okay, because it's Lamaila, it happens Lamata. But for us, we go backwards. We only know it's Lamaila from down here. But the way the sequence of events is, it starts from Lamaila and then goes to Lamata. The same thing, the person down here. It is Adam el Elyon. There's a posuk that says Adam el Elyon. The reason why a person was called Odom is called Odom. So in posuk it says Kimi Adam lekochas, because he came from the Adama from the ground. But there's a Chassidus bring another one that says Adam el Elyon. The Nebuchadnezzar said, I want to be compared to the one above. But the Lashon there is Adam el Elyon. I will be compared to the one above. So Adama is the same word as Odom. So here we see that Odom is similar to Beilamayla. So from a person down here, from an Odom person down here, you could know how it's the Maila. Because if Lamata is like that, and Lamata came as a Shtalshitz for the Mailam, and from a father the way down here, that's the other Moshe. How it's the Mailam? So the Mazrich Magid, when he brings a Moshe from a father down here, is because from a father down here we could understand more the way it's Badebishter. Then was the state in Sefer Mamorim Tovshin Gimel, so concerning the same thing concerning the Maimer Tovshin Gimel der Fun, was Mezeta Zachtoras Amelech is Machus Adare in Machus Adare is Bob Simcha Gdela, that we see that the crowning of a king down here is with a great Simcha. So since it's down here, like it must have been the Shtalsha from Lamaila. So we Vaisman, so we know from what's Lamata as a Zeich. That's how the crowning of the king, also the Eibush to Lamaila. We know it, and that's Atka Maimer and Muzka. This is just, by the way, what the Rebbe said, that there has to be the Simcha Gdela, like it says in the Maimer, which is connected to what it says in the Chemia Simcha Gdela. So Derech Agav, he wanted to explain why does it have to be the Simcha Gdela. So the Frierdiker Rebbe says because by Achtoras HaMelech Lamata, so he asked Akasha, Lamaila is Azev Lamata, who says it has to be? So he said it has to be because everything Lamata only comes from Lamaila, so it starts with Lamaila. This is till here is the side point. Now the Rebbe goes back. We get free, as I spoke before, Siv Zion. As behem shechol zev as state in the Nehemiah, as behem al the Rosh and the Vayechol kolam lechol as Simcha Gdela. Then connect in Hemshech connection, in continuation. What it says in the Nehemiah, that the first day of Rosh Hashanah they went home and they ate and they drank and they made a big Simcha. So the posik had the Nocher given the Yom Sheni for Rosh Hashanah. So the posik then there was a second day. Now he's going to go into what happened the second day. The posik says, "Vos is demol behem hasheni the Rosh Hashanah." What was there on that day, on the second day of Rosh Hashanah? Posik like this: behem hasheni and as for Rosh Hashanah, second day, which is the second day of Rosh Hashanah, all the heads of the families of the nation gathered together. Hakeanim, Alvim, El Ezra Sefer. They came to Ezra. Well, Haskell El Divra Torah to go to try to understand what it says in the Torah. What's the cost of the Torah? They found that it says in the Torah, Shetziva Hashem b'yad Moshe, that Hashem commanded through Moshe, as Yeshu b'nei Yisrael b'Sukkos b'Chag b'Chidesh HaShvi, that on Sukkot, the 7th month, which is Yontiv of Sukkot, the Yidden should sit in a Sukkot. So what happened? When Ezra told him then, Asher Yashmiu v'Yaviru Kil b'Chol Areim of Yerushalayim, you should spread out a noise everybody should hear in all the cities. Yerushalayim, Leib saying like this: Suhar, go to the mountain. And go to the mountain and take leaves of olive trees and leaves of 8 sheman of trees that make oil. V'ali hodas and leaves of hadassim. V'ali tmorim, leaves of the dates. V'ali eitzoves and leaves of hadassim, like hadassim. Lasei sukkah, because to make the sukkahs, you have to have schach for the sukkahs. Bring all this. That's what he told him to do. And by the way, the Rebbe says the Loshen Suhar, the Loshen that says go out to the mountain, is al derech with the Loshen v'shteit in Chagi, similar to a Loshen in a different place in Tanakh. In Chagi it says that's b'chedesh hashishi, 6th month, which is Chedesh Elul, Yom Echad HaChedesh, the first day, Chedesh Elul. The Rebbe gesagt with me, the Rebbe said, wondering, the time hasn't come to build this Beis Hamikdash. And then it continues. But the Ron gesagt, so Chagi said, go up to the mountain and bring wood and build the Beis Hamikdash. The roof in the Ritzvah for Shchei Shel, and Shchei Shel Rebbe spoke about this. So we see a similar lotion. On the second day of Rosh Hashanah, he said, go out to the mountain and bring all these leaves and make a sukkah. Over there it said, go build the Beis Hamikdash. So he said, go up to the mountain. What's the difference? So the Rebbe, this is, by the way, also the chilik b'neim. The difference is dosh state suhar. Here it says, go out to the mountain. Und dorten state in the posik that talks about going to build a Beis Hamikdash state aluha, or go up to the mountain. But the beer is b'pashta. The explanation is simple. In Chag it's wegen der matzav kedem shnim dabei. Chag it's talking before the Beis Hamikdash was built. Man darf gain buy in the Beis Hamikdash, and you have to build the Beis Hamikdash. It does an aliyah from the matzav the kedem shnim dabei. That's called aliyah. Now you don't have a Beis Hamikdash. Go higher. Start building the Beis Hamikdash. It says the Loshen, go up to the mountain. So matzah from binyan abayis. Now you're not building. Go up to build. So to the Loshen aluah. That's why he says go up to the mountain. In Nehemiah, talking there was a Beis Hamikdash already. He has invited the Psukim and says in the Psukim. The father is so hard. That's why he says go out. It's not an aliyah in his level because there's a Beis Hamikdash. Just tell him what to do. Go out and make sukkahs. So again, this part of these medayik and the two expressions, just by the way, brackets. It's not part of the whole hemshech. So the Por HaMshech is only saying is that on the second day of Rosh Hashanah, he told him about Sukkot. They came and they learned and they told him that you have to make Sukkot. Even though that day they didn't do the mitzvah of Sukkot. But because on that day they decided already, they made a resolution that they will do what Ezra said to go out to the mountain and get the stuff and build a sukkah. So it's already a good thought. So David should consider it as if he did it already. The mail is in Bishaz, the Machshavah Tevish, so when they had this good Achot, this good Machshavah, so you know it's going to happen. Because the Eibush makes a Machshavah Tevish. Saposh Abshad Machshavah Tevish, Eibush and Tzar for the Maisa means it's as if you did it. But he wants to say, when you're going to do it, since now it's as if you did it already, so you're guaranteed that that's going to be done. That's a deeper pshat. Nochmer goes further. In the Posik in Parshas Bay, where David told Moshe and Aaron to go tell the Eden about the Korban Pesach. Korban Pesach was supposed to be brought on the 14th day of Nisan. When did David speak to Moshe Rabbeinu about it? Is the Shchedish Nisan. So it says, as soon as the David spoke, by Yeilchu, they went, and the Eden did it, like Hashem said. The gates Korban Pesach. Fragt Rash, so Rash asked, they did it already? It said that it's Shchedish. They didn't do it yet. They weren't going to do it 14 days later. Nafarenta Rasha says, he answers, since now right away they accepted to do it, the Torah considers if they did it. These as in Posik steht Vayas, Posik doesn't say as if they did it. They did it. It's mamish because they decided. Davon ist verstanden, bin ich zur Rachlote von den Jiden Dämmel, bei ihm bei der Rosh Hashanah, bin ich mit Sukkot. From that we understand, when the Jiden decided on the second day of Rosh and then to make the Sukkah on Sukkot, schon dämmelt wird das verrechen, wie sie haben das getan bei Peil, so it's mamish, it's as if they did the Peil. So the Rebbe is trying to bring here that Rosh Hashanah, besides the second day, especially the Svarengi was the second day of Rosh Hashanah, already has a shaykhs to Sukkot, because then, second day of the Rosh Hashanah, they already machlit to make the Sukkah on Sukkot, but maybe it's as if they did it. Then the Pasuk continues. Then it tells us how when it came to Sukkot, they actually did it. The nation went out, they brought they made the Sukkot, everyone on his roof, in the yards, in the yard of the Beis Elikim of the Beis Hamikdash, 2 gates by the road by the gate called Shar Hamayim, by the road of the gate Shar Ephraim. And then it says that he Simcha Gdei Lameiden was a big Simcha. And we are not free in a Posek, as it says before, was given as a grace Simcha. Posek said the Simcha was so big as from the Zeiten von Yeshua, but not given as a Simcha. From the times of Yeshua, there was no such Simcha. Now, again, the Rebbe again goes into side things. A lot of times in the Sichas, he goes into side things in the middle. That's why sometimes it's hard to concentrate. When the Rebbe spoke, you had to concentrate and understand what's, by the way. See, we had so many things and so many things in the middle, by the way. So here the Rebbe says, by the way, the Keshem and the post of Yaslam Sukkah Yishal Gage B'Chatzitzereim U'B'Chatzreis Beis Elokim. And this in connection to this post that they made the sukkahs on the roof, on the yards, on the yard of the Beis Hamikdash. Steht in Shuvas Hageinim, it says concerning this in the Shuva of the Geinim. There was a shaila asked by the Geinim. The Geinim were people that lived before the Rishonim, before Rashi, before the Rambam, generation before. So there was a shaila they asked them, do we have to make a sukkah in shul? So first they thought they write that probably you shouldn't. Why? For Masukah that was on Teshuvah came to do it, a sukkah has to be you live there. Instead of living in the house, this week you have to live in the sukkah. But darf man sukkah, machen a sukkah not in their eigene diras. You have to make a sukkah in your own house where you live. Shaking in the Beis HaKnesses, in the shul, that's not where you live. So you don't need a sukkah. But the noch is b'mamshich in the tshuva. But then it continues. You have to do them. Why? For orchim, for the guest. Und wie sagt dort, like it says there, as in Baghdad, was dort in gewöhnt kam Geinim, that in Baghdad, in the Chuvas Geinim, it says that in Baghdad, where a lot of the Geinim lived, but when gemacht sukkahs bought the Knesset, they actually made sukkahs in the shuls. When they bring dort, as is Geinim Migdash, and he brings there that that's how it was in the Beis Hamikdash. From the Pasuk in Nehemiah, like the Pasuk that we just said in Nehemiah, where it says, as Vayasad sukkahs bechatzreis Beis Elikim, in the yards of the Beis Hamikdash. When the noch is a sign, then he finishes off in the tshuva. Chei minig Yisrael. The minig is as Azay is the minig Yisrael. This is the minig Yisrael. So he just says that they had on Rosh Hashanah the mitzvah of Sukkah, and then when they made the mitzvah of Sukkah, they actually did it. And by the way, he says concerning this, we should know that this is a raya, and the tshuvas Hageinim bring this the raya that you have to make a sukkah in shul, just like over there it says they made a sukkah in the Beis Hamikdash. From Kol now, from all this, from them was where it zählt in Nehemiah, and from the Tshuvas Hagenim with the Protim is from what it says in Nehemiah, and what the Tshuvas Hagenim says the details about making the sukkah. We could take out many hints, many lessons we could take out from there. But I have to look if that's a real lesson. In the meantime, I didn't find it in any Sforim, this lesson that we take out. But nevertheless, the Rebbe says looks like a lesson. And he's not telling us all the things he thinks he could take out, but one of the things. From Nehemiah, from that, seems like that from the second day of Rosh Hashanah, you already have to start preparing for Sukkot. To resolve, to decide that you'll do the inyonim that you have to do in Sukkot. That you have to decide on Rosh Hashanah that in Sukkot you will make Sukkot and all the details, and it'll be a big simcha. Rosh Hashanah has to happen already. Especially if it says in Chassidus, as we said before, wants to show the connection of Rosh Hashanah that Sukkot. That Rosh Hashanah already you have the inyan of Sukkot. Chassidus it says as Rosh Hashanah zayin dod inyanim for Chagenu Chag HaSukkos and Ha'ifim for Bakesek. Canal see base. Said before, Bakesel Yom Chagenu Kesem is hidden. Yom Chagenu is Sukkot. That on Rosh Hashanah, the day that's hidden, the inyanim of Sukkot is hidden in Rosh Hashanah. We don't see it, but it's there. There's a connection. So this fits to what he said before. But the Gelo Peil, the real thing is, just like I said, the Rebbe says in the previous Fabrenga Shabbos, Sovi Chayelo, Shabbos and Sov Mayelech, Tovshin Mem. This is a Rosh Hashanah already became Tovshin Mem Aleph. So the Fabrenga before were Tovshin Mem. So just like I spoke then, Ubeshonim Shalifn say in previous years, like the Minya from Shulchan Aruch Leinoch and Lebezdarzaim B'Negei Rosh Hashanah. In Nehemiah it says B'Negei Rosh Hashanah, he said send presents to those that don't have, which means that they have to make sure that people who don't have food for Rosh Hashanah and Bibi Simcha, they have to give him. So the Rebbe spoke, you have to do Begei Sukkos. Zustellen an Nitzrochim alle Nyonim, was jeden davon haben, to give, make sure that all those that need should have, they should be able to celebrate Sukkos happily, joyfully, bis in a Simcha Gdelo made a big Simcha. Der Zed darf man tun, but negate to the Nyonership in time. Same thing would apply that you have to negate the days in middle, zwischen Rosh Hashanah und Chag HaSukkot, Rosh Hashanah und Sukkot. As they sollen sein Tag ungefüllt mit Simcha und Simcha Gdelo made. They should be days full of Simcha. So even though it starts at Rosh Hashanah and it's Sukkot, but it doesn't mean just Rosh Hashanah and Sukkot. From Rosh Hashanah to Sukkot, that they all have to be happy days. It's not that it was das tut man nur, tut nur bei alle Jiden. Tut der Ruf mit Scheldig zu. And how could you pay by Yidden? Some Yidden, those that need, the only way they can be besimcha sukkah is if you give them their needs that they need. And that'll they'll be besimcha. We come to simcha selam aresh. We come to the big simcha. Posek says there is a big simcha on your head. Connected to the gula, the real gula, the complete gula from Mashiach. He will gather, he will build for the Beis Hamikdash in its place. The noch kibbutz nit so the kabbos in the will gather the Yidden. The rotzen let them be the will of Hashem. In an eifum von hakel som anoshim ataf that this will happen. A form of hakel, since it's a year of hakel, that they gather together all people, men, women, children, and the converts in the Yorvas is a Shnas cycle. It should happen this year, the year of hakel. Shnas Tov Shin Mem Aleph. Which is coming the whole year. This was Rosh Hashanah. This is the beginning of the coming year. And even before that, there should be all the Yidden should be written and sealed for a life right away. The Sifra Shel Tzadikim Gemurim in the Svarim, because it says in Gemara that there are 3 Svarim open. One Sefer with Tzadikim are written right away for life. One Sefer with Shoyim are written right away for death. And the Beinyanim are in the middle till Yom Kippur. So everyone should be written in the Sefer of Tzadikim. How could you say everybody in the Sefer of Tzadikim? Yes. All the Yidden are called Tzadikim. Sukkah should be written and sealed for a good year, a sweet year, in good, that's revealed good, good down here, should be right away. And then at the end, there's a ha'orah, since this is the description of the Fabrenga, and it says that the Rebbe benched after the Sichas. And then he said, Koshel Brocha. Usually when the Rebbe washed by the Fabrengen, he would give Koshel Brocha afterwards. But here there was a problem. It was Friday night. So Friday night wouldn't give. And you, first of all, after benching, you couldn't even drink it. Because you're not allowed to drink before Kiddush. You couldn't carry it home. So he says, kosher bracha v'tzayim b'li neder, kosher b'li neder, that the tail the Rebbe will give it, noch der isvat es morgen Shabbos b'tzarayim, tomorrow after, because there was another farbringen in the afternoon into Motzei Shabbos on that next day. So the Rebbe said, we'll give it then, that's when we will give the kosher bracha.